Help support Friendo Club by going to patreon.com/Steven Larson or clicking join at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Access to bonus episodes, question threads for the Going In Raw podcast, and entry to our monthly wrestling predictions challenges. Join the Friendo Club today. Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. 10 years of Going In Raw, and now 5 years of AEW coming up here at Double or Nothing. We're going to talk about that because Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer Radio today was talking about, was it today or yesterday?
I think it was last night.
I
think they recorded radio right after Dynamite.
Oh, man. I like to get my rest in after Dynamite.
Me too.
So I can soak it in. Whoa, wait a second, Larson.
What?
Those other guys have their reviews fresher than ours?
Yeah.
Whoa, buddy. Let's not let that one get out.
That one doesn't bother me. I want my rest.
All right. Anyways, last night on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer was talking about 5 years of AEW, its genesis, and the industry of negativity. And I thought this was a pretty interesting discussion, and I would recommend people go seek this out. This episode of Wrestling Observer Radio out.
If nothing else, you hear Meltzer and Alvarez argue about which phase of WWE was worse.
And I want to argue about that with you because sure. I don't know if we're going to be of a like mind on it or if we're going to have some sparring about it. But anyways, this is what Dave Meltzer had to say. These transcripts come to you via WrestleTalk. He says, I think the one thing that I was really surprised about that I did not see coming was the amount of negativity from fans and others to the success and the wishes of failure. And that's been something that I think has greatly affected the company. I know for sure there would be certain people who were going to be negative on it no matter what. And no matter how successful it was or was not, they were going to be negative on it. And I thought they were going to be voices in the wilderness. I did not realize how many people would be taking that tact and really bank on the whole thing dying. And it actually turned into almost an industry of people trying to make their living based on the idea that AEW is folding and Tony Khan is an idiot and he's a money mark and all that, while the company was successful. And now when it is less popular, it's even louder. And granted, some of the criticism is very valid and some of it is ridiculous. So the premise that this industry of negativity that Dave Meltzer is talking about, given that we are in the space that he's referring to, do you think that it has, in his estimate, as in his estimation, he thinks it has greatly affected the company, Larson?
It would be. I wonder in what capacity he's stating that. Is it in terms of dollars and cents, ratings,
where is
morale?
The company? Well, let's look at first, where is the company faltering? And that's, I think, maybe the only way that it could be affecting the company. I mean, I'm assuming he means affecting the company in a negative way.
Yeah, in terms of attendance, in terms of TV viewership, because that's measurable stuff. But at the same time, the honeymoon period with AEW is over. They've been around for 5 years. While I, for the most part, enjoyed Dynamite last night, creatively, AEW is still uneven. I just don't know if you can point at, an industry of negativity, if we want to call it that, for the sake of the conversation here.
Yeah.
As one, it could be one of the reasons affecting, but I don't know how. I would assume the AEW audience is probably more dialed into internet wrestling conversation. Perhaps WWE audience potentially is. I could be wrong about that. And so AEW's audience, if that is true, could be more aware of those who are being overtly negative about AEW's existence, as opposed to maybe WWE fans. Here's an example. CM Punk makes any reference to AEW or his experiences there at WWE TV, it's crickets. Basically no reaction from the fans that attended.
It's been several times now, and there's not, and there's no
gasp. There's no people being like, oh snap, listen to what he said.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah.
Online, there's plenty of it.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like if the opposite were true in AEW, a vast majority of the crowd would probably get the reference.
Yeah.
I suppose it's possible. I mean, if you go back to the Brawl Out situation, you know, and the fallout from that definitely cast a dark cloud over the company. And there were a lot of perspectives out there about what happened, how it affected the company, who's to blame. And I don't necessarily know if, again, this industry of negativity, how much that fed into the altering perception of AEW following Brawl Out. I mean, in terms of finding quantifiable numbers behind it, it's obviously nigh impossible to do because there's so many factors contributing to AEW's kind of mild decline. They're not falling off a cliff. The sky isn't falling for AEW, first of all. And you imagine anecdotally, there's probably a lot of reasons why people have chosen to tune out.
I have a video that I'm still deciding what exact tack to take with it over at WrestleJuice. I actually put up, and thankfully for this conversation, I put up a thread last week where I asked people, if you have only people who've stopped watching AEW that used to watch it, por qué? Why? Why'd you do that?
An exit poll.
An exit poll. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. 198 respondents.
Uh-huh.
The number one reason, or I'm sorry, I should say this, the most thumbs upped reason. So 51 people gave this the old like.
All right. Plurality then.
Yeah. It's actually interesting because there's two of them. There's this one and there's one that had 41 thumbs up. And those are by far the most thumbs upped. This guy, Tubby Chubby, says, doesn't feel like AEW rewards you with watching consistently, so I watch pay-per-views and some Dynamites, which I think is a valid criticism.
I mean, Alvarez talked about that the other day on one of Wrestling Observer's shows, too, about how a cliffhanger might happen on one show, but you're not rewarded watching Collision. Say it happens on Dynamite, it doesn't continue on Collision, it may continue on the following Dynamite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's not a serialized nature to AEW's programming per se.
Yeah, kind of like the way that was, if you want to make that comparison, we're going to talk about that here in a moment, WCW. One thing that I always loved about WCW in its heyday when it was good, like 97, 98, is, you know, it would end on a cliffhanger a lot, you know, and it was usually Sting fighting the NWO.
Coming from the rafters and fighting the NWO,
in some way, shape, or form, yeah. But it was like before the Sharks would get to Sting, they would go to Robin Hood. And it had that, WCW at its best had that sense of urgency, and that's what it is. People want to be, you want to leave people wanting more. You want them to want more.
Yes.
And often with Dynamite, it's kind of not really the situation. And then when you enter a Dynamite, it's not like it's entering with a sense of urgency. Whenever WCW would come on, it would usually be, the NWO are showing up, and what havoc are they going to cause? What problems are they going to bring to to Greensboro?
And I will say, lately on AEW, they're trying to emulate that somewhat with the Elite now. And we saw last night at Dynamite kind of their attempt at that kind of cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Or at least a segment that ends the show on a dramatic note.
This next one from Rodrigo says, this is the other one that was majorly thumbs upped. It says, WWE got good again. A lot of the success of early AEW was because of ex-WWE fans that wanted an alternative. I was one of those people. Now that Triple H is in charge, I don't need that alternative anymore, which I think is a major reason why there's been a shift.
I mean, I think there's been that argument made that some fans didn't necessarily want an alternative to WWE. They just wanted WWE to be better.
Yeah, I think, and we're going to explore that here in a moment as well. But let's get back to the first thing about the negative content out there, the negative, YouTube videos, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if these particular YouTube channels, content creators, and to me, for trying to be completely transparent and honest about it, we understand clearly that, I mean, look at the title and thumbnail of this episode, you know? I know you haven't seen it yet. I haven't made it yet.
I'm trusting you that it's going to be something that's going to grab people and demand their attention. Yes.
Ideally. But it's also, they're talking about AEW in a negative light, the negativity around AEW. I think it's an interesting conversation to have, but I also realize, because I'm not that stupid, I also realize that that'll get more clicks than just a thumbnail talking about what happened on Dynamite last night. You know, like all the when Malachi Black diarrheaed a bunch of blood. But I also, given the opportunity to talk about the business side of things, I enjoy talking about the business side of things. And I thought this was an interesting, if all the negativity that's out there about AEW went away, if Jim Cornette was number one AEW stan,
or Eric Bischoff. Yeah.
If Eric Bischoff was number one stan, if Pro Wrestling Bits was super pro AEW, if all those, AEW neckbeard Twitter accounts, that's just one that I remember seeing, if those disappeared on Twitter, would AEW be breaking 900,000 in the ratings? Would AEW be filling 70% of the venues instead of whatever they're filling now?
Probably not, because I think people who gravitate towards the content you mentioned already held those opinions anyways that they may have about AEW or WWE. And I feel like rather than this industry of negativity necessarily, and I could be wrong about this industry of negativity necessarily turning prospective AEW fans against the company, it's validating the opinions of people who might already not be too fond of AEW anyways.
I think that, if you consider it, I'll put it this way. If you consider the Cornettes, the Bischoffs, the Pro Wrestling Bitses out there, and that's just
all the various Twitter accounts.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if I find it really difficult to believe that level of criticism, which I think runs a spectrum, as Dave says here, it runs a spectrum of, honest and valid to the disingenuous and dishonest. I think I think you could consider that obviously bad marketing for AEW. And you would think that bad marketing would have an effect on the business. I don't know that it's a substantial one. I don't know that if everybody was talking up AEW and saying it's the greatest thing ever and it's still the same product. I'll be honest, man, I was kind of bored with Dynamite last night. I like the final angle. I think you can always rely on Swerve and whatever program he's in to deliver something that is outside the box. I liked chasing Christian and Nana's in his way. It felt different than just, let's just do a match. I thought the blood thing was kind of goofy, to be honest with you. But beyond that, I was like, God damn, it's just not, it's not how there's not, to me, not a sense of urgency. And there wasn't a ton of variety, and that's, I think, one thing that to me personally hurts AEW is just the lack of variety. It's just like match. And they're all around the same amount of time. They're all really long and they all sort of do the same thing. And for some people, they like that. That's great. That's awesome for you. I love that. That's great. But in terms of, I think, what a lot of people really want out of their pro wrestling, which is a variety of scenarios and characters and stories that are being told. And I feel like it doesn't deliver on that. But that's for my criticism later.
Well, that's all valid criticism.
It wouldn't change that.
No.
It wouldn't change the product.
No.
And I think at the end of the day, and this is what I say to anybody who's trying to make it on YouTube. At the end of the day, if what you're producing is compelling, people are going to tune into it. And then YouTube will push it. And it's rare. Honestly, it's rare that I've clicked on a YouTube video that has like a decent thumbnail, but like really, really low views. And I've been like, oh, this is amazing. It should be out there more. It doesn't happen very often because YouTube has a weird way of actually pushing stuff that is relatively well produced. I don't know that, like, if all that negativity disappeared tomorrow, and I don't know that if AEW started absolutely killing it creatively, I do think that there would be a shift in the sentiment from the fans, which would then filter into the Cornettes, the Bischoffs. Maybe not Bischoff. I think Bischoff's got a personal thing with Tony Khan because there's the comparison thing. There's the comparison thing.
It seems that way, yes.
But I do think that you would see those voices turn around and talk them up. Because I think that those outlets, yes, I think that there is absolutely the realization from many of them that you go negative, you're going to benefit.
The thing. I think some people make the calculated decision to pivot to that because it would benefit them possibly financially. Yes, absolutely.
Like you and I, we have the reputation, I guess, of being like dudes who are, and sometimes it sort of works against us. We try to find the fun and positive in pro wrestling. Sometimes I cannot. Here's my thing. I can't fake it.
No, I can't either.
I have a really hard time. I can't sit. I was looking at a variety of YouTube channels, and like JD from NY, right? Like we've met JD, right?
Yeah.
I can't sit through, and look, man, he's got a much bigger crowd than we do on YouTube, and hats off to him because he found that thing, he found that niche, he found that market that really works, where it's just him screaming his head off about how shitty things are, and then when he likes things, he'll scream his head off about how he likes things.
Yeah.
But it's very Bill O'Reilly type stuff, but if you look at his YouTube channel. And like I said, hey, dude, credit where credit's due. But I can't bring myself to be that level of like upset.
Same.
And
it's just pro wrestling. That's my attitude. It's pro wrestling.
Right.
This is entertainment, and
because look, this is from a month ago from JD, and we met JD. He was nice to us.
Yeah.
He said, the title is, did Tony Khan basically admit he hates the fans and that he's never wrong because ratings?
That's a long title.
A long-ass title. He has in last week's Dynamite review, the title is No Creative, All Excuses. Holy poop emoji. Did AEW finally tell some stories?
Kind of backhanded compliment there, huh?
It is, yeah. And God bless him, man. He's doing his thing. I mean,
it seems like, especially as once people found out there's money to be made being negative, and this is
the caveman days. That ain't new.
No, I know it ain't new, but especially with YouTube and social media, it's so much easier to make content.
Yeah.
That caters to an audience than ever before. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's easy. You can get a webcam and a USB mic, and you're rocking and rolling, making content.
Yeah.
And especially now on Twitter, where they're paying people, or were, I'm not sure how many checks people are getting these days. If it pays to be negative, there are people that are going to take that tack because it benefits them.
Well, I mean, it's like look at Fox News, for
totally.
example. You can look at any of their editorial shows and see, the fact that,
it's
my God.
Negativity and grievance is what it is.
Yeah. The world is burning down because it ain't like it used to be. And now you are on the outside looking in, and they are shoving you out of the inside. We all know who they are. But it's very like negativity focused, and it's not unique to Fox News.
No, that's been their bread and butter for a long time.
Yeah, and that's been upon the dawn of the 24-hour news cycle, that's been a thing across a wide variety of networks. but yeah. So I honestly, the basic premise of, does this industry of negativity greatly affect AEW? I kind of feel like it's a reflection of fan sentiment. I do think that,
Yeah.
you know, if AEW was just absolutely killing it creatively, if they were experiencing the same vibe as they were in 2019 or in September of 2021, I think that accounts like that, you know, people who are overtly negative about AEW, I don't think they would perform as well because the sentiment's not out there to attract it. If you and I started like a faceless YouTube channel, it's not Steven Larson, and just blasting WWE, I don't think it would do very well because it's popular right now. People are into it right now.
And granted, there are those Twitter accounts which are that blast everything WWE does. They're out there.
Yeah, but the engagement on those is far fewer than
the accounts that blast AEW. Yeah.
Yeah, and
it is a popular thing these days to crap on AEW.
When something's
more so than in years past.
When something's down, it's profitable to pile on it.
Yeah.
Because they know where the sentiment is and they're able to profit off that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Because Dave talks about how when Tony Khan got into this, he wasn't expecting it to take 6 years to be profitable. In Dave's estimation, he spent more money on contracts than he figured he would. And a lot seems to ride on two things. Number one, in the immediate, the TV deal, which seems to be probably more likely now that NBA is not re-upping with Turner. And so at that point, it'll be profitable. And you would think that a TV deal would be between 3 to 5 years. And especially you would think if the Max situation if Max got the pay-per-views, that also would probably bolster AEW's chances at further longevity.
Yeah, increase their visibility. Yeah, sort of like how WWE has benefited greatly from the Peacock partnership. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you see AEW 5 years from now? It's when we first started this, when we first started talking about AEW, when it was first a thing, my main question was, okay, what's their TV going to look like after the first Dynamite? Okay, what's going to look like a year from now, 3 years from now? And we sort of have that idea. And I'll be honest with you, my estimation of that is the first year or so, from October of 2019 until, I don't know, I would say probably up until Punk, there was a lot of inspired stuff there. But the more TV hours they booked along the way, the more spread thin the entire thing is. So it relied more on just throw them out there for a match, as opposed to let's do a musical number. Let's do some crazy shit. Now it's more like, well, we'll do a little bit of the tongue-in-cheek stuff, but shove them out there for a match, and then they'll do a match, and then we'll do like a small angle. And so it feels like some of that has sort of settled in, and it's less like a celebration of inspiration, and now it's like let's just book
It's the
stuff.
obligation to churn out programming. Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 years from now,
there is seemingly about 600 to 700,000 people that enjoy AEW's formula of programming, which is very much in-ring focused and, stories outside of the ring. Cool, sure. But primarily they enjoy the in-ring product. And unless AEW does a hard pivot in terms of messing with that formula and dropping the wrestling from the wrestling show, I think for the most part they can rely on that 600,000 to 700,000 people to stick around as long as the quality in-ring product is high. If they get a good TV deal, if it get them maybe close to breaking even, I don't see them going anywhere. And with and granted, I don't think Warner is going to overpay for AEW to keep them, even after the NBA deal is seemingly not going to happen with them. But since AEW, even based on where the numbers are now in terms of rating and the demo number, is probably their most valuable original property, they might put some more marketing muscle behind it. But it has to go hand in hand with AEW doing marketing on a local level themselves, because that's seemingly, we've heard repeatedly, one thing that's damaged them in terms of their ability to draw locally, potentially. It might not be the only thing. Obviously, what happens on TV leading up to that particular event has some bearing on that too, but if you're not doing the work on the local level to promote your show, to get the word out, to get people excited about coming, they ain't going to buy tickets. And definitely local promotions can't hurt, but if on a national level, Warner Brothers is pushing AEW, is like, hey, this is our top property here. We're going to treat it as such. Maybe get Collision and Rampage some better time slots, and really get behind the company in terms of being their top draw, essentially.
I don't know what the annual expected rate of cord cutting percentage drop you're going to expect from in terms of ratings. I mean, AEW is at a place right now where, a year ago it was, the same thing was if they can keep these 800,000 people. Now it's if they can keep these 700,000 people, if they can keep these 600,000 people, and that's not taken into account, obviously. Plus threes, plus sevens, what
the DVR numbers,
the DVR numbers, what is
streaming numbers from various other places, because you can stream it on TNT and TBS's websites and apps and stuff, and I'm sure that's not taken into account into the ratings numbers either,
so but I don't know how much of their overall viewership decline is a function of cord cutting, the changing landscape, and how much is it a function of fans leaving the product. I mean, anecdotally, looking at this WrestleJuice thing,
there's diminished enthusiasm for the AEW product. Yeah,
there is, absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But when you look at the comparisons, when you look at AEW Dynamite doing the best that isn't NBA or NHL, I guess, or whatever the comparisons
relative
are.
To the competition on Wednesday nights.
Relative to the competition. And even I think there's like Collision and Rampage do really well compared to the competition.
Collision got over 500,000 this last weekend.
Oh, did it? Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. When you look at that compared to the competition, I think it's a different story. And I think none of us are experts on the TV rating stuff. Meltzer, I think, has a lot more experience, or I know has a lot more experience and expertise in that, as does guys like Brandon Thurston.
Yeah.
But when you look at that, it's kind of like, okay, half full, half empty type situation. And it's going to be more interesting to see, okay, what is this TV deal going to look like? Is it going to bring them to profitability? If that's the case, then you got to think this is going to be around for as long as they're profitable. And on top of that, as long as Tony Khan wants it to be around. Mm-hmm. I just think that probably, given that he's a business guy, if they lose Turner and don't find a suitable replacement like an ESPN or something.
Yeah.
If his best offer is from Axis, like that's not gonna cut it. That's not gonna
pack it in. Yeah, I mean, because a pro wrestling company these days that wants to operate at a national scale really can't without a TV deal. It impacts the outlier, because I know they own their own network. How many homes is it available in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the impact, it's a cockroach. It's been through multiple owners, and it's just, I don't know what they're doing. I watch clips here and there of TNA, and it's just,
TNA, yeah.
It's so obvious that like Scott D'Amore was just the glue keeping that place together. Yeah. There's some weird shit going on there. It is pretty bizarre, but yeah. What do you think? Because he also talks about this within the episode, within the talk. The reason for AEW's early success.
Yeah,
I really, really attribute it to just how bad WWE was, and it's funny because there's a we mentioned this earlier. There is a little mini debate that they kind of get on each other's cases.
Yeah, it's pretty funny where they start kind of chirping at each other a little bit,
bickering at each other. Yeah. Maybe we need to do that more. Maybe we should bicker
That's
at
what
each
Matt.
other
The
more.
idea of Matt Chat back in the day was that, but it was also friendly and congenial. Our conversations. We never raised.
Nobody
our voices.
wants to see us fight, dude. Nobody wants to see us fight.
At least in a serious way. Joke fighting, that's something else. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right. But I honestly think that number one reason why AEW succeeded early on, or had the opportunity to succeed, I should say, is they did present a strong alternative to the dog shit that was WWE.
Well, the promise of AEW was a strong alternative to the dog shit.
For 2 years, I would say for 2 years it was successful in doing.
And a better part of 2 years, yes, I think they are more successful at it than not. I think it's kind of three things that led to AEW's early success, and the dog shit nature of WWE's creative at the time is high among that list. Two, there was a pretty thriving indie scene in the States,
big time,
where a lot of wrestlers were really developing their brands on a level that we hadn't seen in a little while. I mean, maybe like peak Ring of Honor, you know what I mean? And granted, I know Ring of Honor was still a thing, but it wasn't exactly as healthy as it used to be. And then, of course, the success of New Japan in the United States, without which I don't know if Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks would have been on a lot of people's radar.
True. Yeah.
And, you have a lot of talents on the independents that are doing really well for themselves and developing brands for themselves. And you have a lot of talents from New Japan, Kenny, the Young Bucks, Hangman, Cody. And I understand they all wrestled for Ring of Honor too. But Ring of Honor wasn't getting the praise and notice that New Japan was at the time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of fans were like, we want to see these people, but we want to see them on our time. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to stay up till 3 a.m. to watch New Japan shows.
And I think there was the desire to see it with a big budget United States cable.
On a cable television network. I kind of joke about the convenience aspect of it, but I don't know how much
it's totally true.
Yeah. How much that might have played into it, where we want to be able to see Kenny and the Young Bucks and all the wrestlers that we watch on YouTube wrestling matches in the independents, but we want to see them on cable television in prime time. I think that's really the sentiment. Convenience might be a small part of it, but they want to see them at a high budget show on prime time with the chance to be an alternative to WWE.
Don't underestimate convenience, because New Japan World is not convenient at all. I would probably watch more New Japan if it was more of a Netflix type friendly.
The user interface is not the best. No,
it's not at all.
Especially, I mean, I haven't been on the app in a while, but the app was not great.
No, it wasn't. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. If the talent and buzz, you often have referred to this as the cool factor.
Yeah.
Well, amongst the internet wrestling community, that cool factor was off the charts.
Really was.
For Bullet Club 2017. I mean, shirts were getting a hot topic. That's, that was sort of the famous thing. But yeah, there seemed to be the strength of the talent almost like necessitated a U.S. And I think that the New Japan wanted to fill that niche.
Absolutely.
In America.
They were trying to, yeah.
That's what they were going to do. And then instead All In happened and Ring of Honor helped finance that. And then Ring of Honor found themselves on the outside looking in like, what, this should be us. But it's like, nah, because your production's crap. But yeah, you put all that together, and then there's also like the Turner aspect of it where there is that fondness, there is that nostalgia itch for WCW programming. It's like, oh man, that was a different thing than WWF. And I think also on top of that, there was what people saw with NXT, which was really good at the time. It was like the one thing in WWE that was good. And it's like, man, the thing that everybody really wanted to see, but also were nervous about, was the main roster call-up. We wanted to see Undisputed Era with the big budget cable TV, not just in that Full Sail venue. We wanted to see Aleister Black. We wanted to see Gargano and all them be utilized in a major way on main roster. And everybody sort of knew it wasn't going to happen because Vince McMahon was there, but it'd be great if there was something like that. And that's what we got with AEW. We got the promise of that. And, he brought over a lot of those people. He brought over Keith Lee and Malachi and Undisputed Era.
Basically all the Undisputed Era.
Yeah.
And so many former WWE guys that came over to AEW with the idea, we finally get to see what they can do now on a large stage with hopefully decent creative, because there was absolutely no faith in the creative they were getting while Vince was running things in WWE.
Let me ask you something.
Sure.
What if the timeline skews like 5 years? What if Vince McMahon's downfall happened 5 years earlier? And
So 2018?
Yeah. Triple H takes over. Product is really good, but there's so much talent out there. And let's say Kenny and the Bucks and Cody are still like, I'm not sure 1,000% that we want to go to WWE. We've got this Money Mark over here. We've got this Tony Khan over here, who's a wrestling fan with a lot of money. And he's offering us a chance to do our own thing. That is kind of a crazy question.
Yeah, that's a pretty substantial what if.
That is a really big what if. Like, would the fans be hungry for that if they already have a WWE under Paul Levesque?
That they deem good. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if Triple H was able to rehabilitate WWE creative and the perception of the company as a viable place for wrestlers to go to be satisfied creatively.
If everything was like that one SmackDown in 2019 when the plane was stranded, so they do the NXT invasion, it was like, oh my God, this SmackDown's amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a lot of fun. I don't know. Because then it depends on how serious Kenny and the Young Bucks and Cody and at that point were about creating an alternative, as opposed to not just wanting to go to WWE because they were concerned about how their career would fare there.
Yeah.
If their primary motivation after leaving New Japan / Ring of Honor was, we want to create an alternative, then they might have gone that direction regardless. But if it was, well, we'll entertain WWE and see where that goes, and if that doesn't happen or doesn't look good for our prospects, and we got Plan B over here where we can start this whole promotion. My understanding is there was conversations between Kenny and the Young Bucks and WWE about them potentially all going over there after their New Japan contracts expired. So I don't know. It depends what their primary motivation was. Obviously.
Well, also, I think it also depends, sort of like I mentioned, the hunger. Like if there was room in the marketplace, if there was a desire in the marketplace for that,
Because it would have been interesting to see if in 2018 Triple H had taken over and creatively WWE was far more interesting at that point than it had been prior. Would All In even have happened?
Yeah.
The first All In, you know? And if that doesn't happen, I don't think there is an AEW.
Yeah, I don't think there is without All In.
Because I kind of proved that aspect of the wrestling scene could draw when marketed and booked correctly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would happen to begin with at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder, because I do kind of think if, one thing that somebody pointed out in one of the comments of one of our episodes recently was, in 98, you had two really strong companies. You had WCW doing some really strong stuff, and you had WWF really doing some strong stuff. Yeah. And it's the Monday Night War. We all know about it. But there was weeks when they were like trading the ratings, the ratings wins, and a ton of people were watching. And I'd like to think that there is room for two really strong companies.
Oh, absolutely.
If Tony Khan tomorrow hired Scott D'Amore and, put him front and center, he's his Paul Levesque, and he's like, I'm stepping away. This is going to be the guy. And you saw sort of Scott D'Amore at his best booking under a stable company with AEW and just absolutely killing it. I think that I think there's room for that. I don't think it has to be one or the other,
No, I don't think so either. And I think a wrestling industry with multiple strong promotions operating at a major level is good for wrestling, and more importantly, good for wrestlers.
Yeah.
You know, is now that there's competition for their talents, that should, in theory, drive up their salaries, which of course is good for them. They're the ones putting their body on the line for our entertainment, and they should be compensated to the highest degree possible for that.
Yeah.
And if there's just one company that basically has a stranglehold on the wrestling business, that ain't gonna happen. I mean, I just saw today that the Department of Justice is suing to break up Live Nation and Ticketmaster because ticket prices are through the roof. Monopolies are not good for business.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a whole, they might be good for a business, but not business as a whole. And we saw what wrestling was like for a number of years, where WWE was pretty much the only game in town, and it wasn't the best.
Speaking of people getting paid, did you see what the new NBA media rights deal, what the new Supermax is going to be?
$6 billion or something like that?
Well, the new Supermax contract available to players.
80 million.
95.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Isn't that nuts?
Good for them.
95 million a year.
That's should get
amazing.
Paid.
Oh, absolutely.
They should get paid the revenue that's commensurate with what they bring to the table. Absolutely.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Absolutely.
But so we're about to look at Dynamite.
I want to talk about one thing real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Before we move on to this. It's just, and I think we've been clear about this, but I just want to say it one time. We're not equating the disingenuous engagement farmers here with valid criticism of AEW.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, there is a lot of valid criticism of AEW, and even some of the engagement farming type places make valid criticism from time to time.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and just because someone has a reputation for maybe being seemingly anti-AEW, maybe for the sake of, doesn't mean some of their criticisms aren't valid.
No, absolutely, yeah.
And it's also not to say that any criticism of AEW is anti-AEW sentiment. We're plenty critical of AEW. We want them to succeed.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
we want them to be a thriving company because it's good for wrestling. It's good for wrestlers.
Yeah.
But it kind of circle back to bring this, to an end. And I think our points being made about why this industry and negativity has been successful, I think we're kind of saying the same thing. It is a reflection of fan sentiment.
Well, it's funny.
People gravitate to the content because it's a reflection of how they feel.
The more we talk about it, I kind of take issue with the idea that it's an industry, that this particular industry of negativity actively wants AEW to go away, because what would they talk about? When I mentioned Alfred Kana was Pro Wrestling Bits, right? And I mentioned this to you off camera. I don't know who his editor is, and if it's him, congratulations, but it's edited beautifully. Yeah. Like, the editing is top notch. I don't agree.
The thumbnails are great too. Yeah,
the thumbnails are outstanding. I don't agree with a lot of what he says. He has like one thumbnail where Dave Meltzer's the devil, and it's tongue in cheek and it's humorous, and Alfred has it's pro wrestling, but his channel I don't know what he would do if AEW was gone, because it's all just, I was like, oh my god, it's like a whole channel dedicated to just running.
Yeah,
down
no,
AEW.
I don't disagree with that point. And I think anybody who I have seen, and maybe this is just talk and not genuine sentiment, but with some of these Twitter accounts, you never know, where they talk about, and these could be complete outliers, about how, the wrestling would be better without AEW around. And so maybe it's not explicitly stated, we want AEW to come to an end, but that's the subtext of some of what they're saying.
Yeah.
And so, but like in terms of, I would guess the mass sentiment of this industry and negativity isn't, we want AEW to end per se. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's we want AEW to continue to fuck up so that we can make money calling them out on fucking up. I don't know. I don't know if anybody's actually thought it through, but it's like, hey, if the logical endpoint to what you're getting at is they're going to go out of business, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to make videos about? We've been so open about this. Like, I want AEW to do well, as we've seen with WWE. when WWE does stuff that's really... What are the two things that you and I can rely on right now to do well on our channel?
It's the Raw and SmackDown recaps.
Because people actually like that stuff.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, when we try to, it's the same thing. Like you and I were having this discussion off camera yesterday about like, okay, what are we gonna do about these NXT reviews? It's like NXT's good, but not a lot of people talk about it. And people, there's a strong subset of our audience. It's like, hey, can you do NXT reviews? Sure. And then we start doing them, and it's like, well, on an episode where not a lot happens, we're running a business. So we can only juice it up so much so that we can make sure that we are able to continue to do this.
Yeah.
And AEW is kind of the same way. If like today I simply put, last episode of Dynamite before,
or you put the Malachi gets hit with bloodbath.
Malachi craps his pants with blood, like
Darby busts out flamethrower. Yeah.
Good luck with that.
And we've seen, and we've been doing this for a long time, so I feel pretty confident saying this, that our numbers for our episodes are a reflection of the enthusiasm for the product.
When positive or negative.
Yes, exactly. When WWE was bad, our numbers struggled to a degree.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Early pandemic era when a lot of Raw and SmackDown, granted, there's not much they can do about the situation they were in, but the programming wasn't good.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And our numbers reflected that. Leading up to WrestleMania, when there was a lot of enthusiasm for the product, numbers were great.
Yeah.
And even that, bringing it back full circle, is a reflection of fan sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
It goes both ways.
It does. It does, yeah.
When people are enthusiastic about a product, they seek out content about it.
Yeah.
Because and if they're down on something, they may seek out content that interests them in that regard as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as you mentioned, if AEW was hitting on all cylinders, they were getting 1 million viewers a week, and creatively it was top notch from the very opening bell to the last segment on the show. I mean, in terms of the industry and negativity, what would be there to talk about per se? Yeah. If Dynamite featured the women more regularly, develop more interesting storylines across the board, whether you're in the main event scene or a mid-card feud, they would make for a better product, and you might see the sentiment turn around a bit. But who knows?
I think you would. No,
until that happens, we won't know for sure.
I think you're absolutely right. Let's talk about this really quick because I thought it was pretty funny. There was a debate on Wrestling Observer Radio over what was the worst era of WWE. And we're not talking about business because obviously by the time 2019 rolled around, business was a booming. Yeah. What was shocking to me was just how good they were in like 2016. Because if you look at 2016,
2016 was solid.
They had some really good stuff going on.
It was like they were really inspired by that draft that year, and after the draft, it was pretty solid content.
You know what's funny is that because I even went back to the Raw after Mania 20 after Bryan won, so after WrestleMania 30, so 2014. It was a really solid episode. Like from segment to segment, that was a really good episode. And it wasn't as dismissive of Bryan as I remember. I went back and I watched, like, oh, okay, I kind of see where they're going. They split off into Evolution versus The Shield as like kind of their A story because Bryan was going to do his thing with Kane, but Kane was still the authority. The idea was the same. Get that title off Bryan. Shield didn't comply. Shield versus Evolution was at the next pay-per-view, as was Bryan versus Kane, because I think they still saw Kane as like a threat, even though he was wearing a suit and he was being bullied by Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah. And given Kane's history with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Team Hell No.
It kind of makes sense.
There's backstory. It just wasn't an exciting feud coming out of such a...
No, it wasn't.
Such a crescendo at Mania 30.
And who knows where it would have gone. It seemed like they wanted to do Triple H versus Bryan again at some point, which would have been fine. But no, from then until, like 2016, I think the Jinder title run kind of like... and then around 2017 as well, the Brock Universal title run, that was garbage. But by the time you got to 2018 and 2019, I don't know exactly what had flipped in Vince's head, but oh my God.
It was awful.
It was horrible. It was so bad. But what was worse? That or like 2010 with the guest host era, which I know you weren't watching a lot of.
I wasn't really watching then, no, so I can't really speak to that. I've heard a lot of people say that is the worst era from a creative standpoint.
I will say this: if given the choice, like you can't, as you said earlier, you can't really take pandemic era too much into it because there's, Drew won the Royal Rumble in 2020. That shit could have been really cool at WrestleMania, him beating Brock Lesnar for the title. That could have been pretty cool. I don't know. But certainly 2019 was an epically bad year.
It was.
I don't know that it was as bad as 2010. When you go back and watch some of those guest host era episodes, they are, because I went back and I watched some of them. I forget why for some reason, but it is awful, like really, really bad. It was also like peak PG. It was when they were first doing PG, and Brian Gewirtz has said we didn't even get PG. We got G. We try to have a character say damn, and Vince McMahon was like, you can't do that. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah. It was bad. I'd probably put that at like probably even worse than like 95, 96.
From 94, 95, 96, when you're launching this weekly TV show in Raw, which by and large doesn't matter.
Did Raw start in 93?
93, yeah.
Okay, it was like late 93 or July?
Squash match. You know what I mean?
It's funny that Vince took his like house show philosophy of booking, which is like squash matches, and then like, DQ title matches.
Yeah.
And he tried to put that shit on weekly television.
And thinking it would work. I know.
Like that shit's gonna work? What the hell? What are you talking about?
And then you're still in that period where Vince is in the 80s mindset where you got to have these huge over-the-top characters with vocational gimmicks. And the audience was moving on from that.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have, this is no disrespect to Repo Man.
Shout out to Simon Miller. We know you love Repo Man.
Shout out to Simon Miller. I always respected, though I didn't quite get it, why Repo Man had the tire tread across his gear. Like, did he get run over?
It was his one failure.
Is that the idea?
It was his one failure. Yeah.
Well, that would come off if he washed his gear, you'd think, or buy new gear, erase that failure.
Well, he's Repo Man, I think, was more an allegory.
All right. Fair enough.
It's like Aronofsky's mother.
All right. There's a video essay for you, Steve.
Or even American Psycho, for that matter. I think it's more allegory than actual, proper narrative.
There's so many vocational gimmicks and just bad, cheesy, over-the-top stuff in that era.
Yeah.
And none of the weekly programming, or very little of the weekly programming, mattered.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And it's... I understand it's a different era. They hadn't kind of thought about the serialized nature, seemingly, of their weekly wrestling show. But that's not a good era either. There's a lot of dog shit. I remember watching some of that stuff at the time and thinking, this is awful.
You watched it at the time, really?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched a lot from probably 85, 86 to early 90s, and then sporadically through there.
Yeah, right.
Off and on. And so much of it was dog shit.
You think Hilton liked it back in like 90, 93, 94? Those early Raws?
You'd have to ask him that. I don't know. But even back then, like so much
he called in sick today, by the way. He called in sick.
He got out of the wall, huh? Or is he just napping inside the wall?
He's napping in the wall.
So much of WWE's programming was so fragmented back then because Raw was but 1 hour of, you had superstars, you had all this other stuff, the syndicated shows.
Yeah.
That, if I was not doing anything Saturday morning and Superstars was on, I'd sit and watch it.
Which is like a different beast because it's like, okay, you got these big arena shows that they're doing, they're going from town to town and they just film and they grab clips and it's moderated. It's a bit different than the weekly of Raw. Which is all one place, ideally live, sometimes not. Anything can happen. What was it? Raw, unfiltered, uncut, hardcore, like the original.
Gritty was in there.
Yeah, Gritty was in there. Yeah. So would that be? I think nothing. I honestly think like stacking up, and granted, I wasn't watching at the time, so I don't know. I remember being so put off by 2010 WWE. It was really difficult for me to watch. I was like, I can't do this guest. I can't. Ashton Kutcher, I have no desire to see this guy on my television in any way, shape, or form.
So all the Twitter accounts out there that saying AEW is garbage and worse than WCW in 2001 or WWE in 2010. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily feel like any of AEW's programming has been so bad, in my estimation. I know others we're going to disagree, and that's fine. That it even compares. If anything, AEW, a bad episode of Dynamite is just kind of creatively inert. Like just nothing really happens.
It's more like NXT at its worst when it was black and gold. How it was like, all right, well, a couple of matches. Nothing really happened.
Yeah. I wouldn't consider that bad TV. Maybe uninteresting. But it's not bad. It's not offensively bad.
No, it's not cringy. It's not like, oh my God, this is so terrible, I'm going to turn it off. It's just, last night it was like 75 minutes before a woman showed up. And it's like, and then poor Serena Deeb, supposed to be the good guy in this feud, and the crowd's booing her, and they don't want to see her, and they're bored to death by her. And it's like, man, this is going to be a good match. And that's the thing about AEW these days. And I think that one comment that I mentioned 45 minutes ago mentioned, there doesn't seem to be the weekly. It's crazy because the weekly television is supposed to be the thing that's going to make you profitable. And yet it just seems to be a very lazy driver for the pay-per-views. They get the match they want, Ospreay versus Roderick Strong, for example. Mm-hmm. And they don't really do a hell of a lot to build to the blow-off. The bloody promo last night was good.
Well, even the week prior, the face-to-face interview promo-off bit, I thought was good because at least it delved into Ospreay's motivation for wanting to beat Roderick Strong.
Yeah, but it's like a lot of the motivation is exposition. It's like, hey, this is why I have a problem with you, and it happened. We don't have any tape of it because there's just some backstage shit. That happened in a different promotion.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you counter that with, for example, Swerve and Christian.
All that happened in AEW.
All of it happened on camera in AEW, and you understand it as soon as Christian says, "This is why I'm coming after you." Swerve.
That's good stuff.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I give that a good grade. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But if the idea is with AEW that you just get match with no motivation, yes, that happens. But I guess I will take the thinnest of motivations as opposed to no motivation. Still,
sure.
At least Ospreay went on the mic and tried to give some explanation.
He's a great promo, by the way.
He is a great promo.
Ospreay's a really good promo.
The one after he got busted open last night on social media, wherever it was, go check it out. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And making the comparison to, 2017, 2018, 2019 NXT, where that was a lot of the criticism we had at the time was, all right, there's a lot of good matches, but nothing really progressed.
They're just building to takeovers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I know takeovers will deliver from an in-ring perspective, and that was the focus. And again, I think NXT at that time and AEW now has so much emphasis on the performance, specifically in-ring. And they have a core audience who watches it for that, and that's why you don't have a whole lot of squash matches, I would think, in AEWs, because people want to see good matches. And whether you look at the power rankings of the respective opponents, and you think this match should be over in 2 minutes, instead you get a 12-minute match. In terms of the kayfabe competitive nature of the show, it doesn't make any sense. But if you look at it through the prism of fans are there to see a performance, and we want to give these wrestlers an opportunity to perform.
Yeah.
All right. That's their philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. You had mentioned that the people comparing AEW to WCW in the year 2000, bit disingenuous given what we got back then. And in fact, given that this is episode 242 of Dynamite, you have
real quick
loaded up the card for WCW Nitro 242.
This comes to you from the Trans World Dome in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
Is that where St. Louis Rams played football? This attendance number is super low.
What is the attendance? Well, let me guess. By that time, 2000, I'm going to say it was around 5,300.
It's a little bit higher, 6,500.
Oh, okay. I'm in the vicinity.
Let me double check and see if this is where the St. Louis Rams did indeed play.
Because if it's a dome, like if it's a stadium, is that a stadium?
Yeah, it's a giant dome stadium.
And 6,500.
For a football game, it holds 67,000 people.
When do you think they booked that? When like Goldberg Hogan was a thing? Were they booking 2 years in advance? Be like, we're gonna be packing these stadiums for random ass nitros.
Because
no problem.
Right. No problem. We'll fill 1/10 of the building.
How could they afford
got 2.8 for a TV rating.
I don't know what that. Well,
I don't know what that translates to in terms of actual numbers. I don't remember.
Probably a lot more people watch
5th.
Raw this week.
August 5th, 2000, here on Cage Match, it got a 6 rating.
How many views did it do on YouTube?
I don't know. It wasn't on YouTube. YouTube wasn't around, Steve.
Ah.
So the opening bout, lasting all of 3 minutes 46 seconds, Terry Funk retains the hardcore title against Norman Smiley and Ralphus.
All right, well, don't give me the outcomes. I want to guess the outcomes.
Oh, sorry. All right, next. Sean Stasiak takes on Captain Rection.
Oh, man. These are like who they were thinking were going to be future Starrcade main eventers.
I guess so.
Stasiak wins, of course.
He does in 1 minute 8 seconds. Next, we have a stretcher match between Bang, Diamond Dallas Page, and Mike Awesome.
We got a mid-card stretcher match?
Yeah.
I liked Mike Awesome, though.
Oh, Mike Awesome was great.
I think at this point he was probably the 70s guy. I'm going to say DDP put Mike Awesome on a stretcher. I say DDP won this.
You're incorrect. Mike Awesome won in 6.5 minutes.
Only 6.5 minutes? They didn't draw out the length of the stretcher match, really?
Here's a spoiler, Steve. That was the longest match of the night.
Jeez. Was Nitro 3 hours back then?
I believe so.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Next, we had a 4-way elimination tag match. You had Chronic. Harlem Heat 2000.
That was Ahmed Johnson and Stevie Ray, I think.
Mm-hmm. The Harris Brothers.
Well.
And the Mamalukes.
Okay.
Who won that?
Give me Chronic.
You're right. 4 minutes, 36 seconds.
4 minutes and 36 seconds?
This match had to have been an absolute disaster. Tank Abbott versus Scott Steiner.
Oh, man. Who would win in a shoot?
I mean, Tank Abbott was just a puncher, so I don't know. I mean, you could knock people out with his punches, but I don't know if he had much technique beyond punching.
Like, Scott Steiner was an actual wrestler, but also
he was a decorated amateur wrestler, yeah.
He was also jacked to the gills at the time.
Yeah.
Boy, okay, so what was it, like a 2-minute match?
Minute 42 seconds.
Well, Steiner wins this.
Steiner wins by DQ.
Would he not let go of the Steiner recliner?
I don't know. Well, that'd be the opposite then. Tank Abbott would win by DQ.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Maybe Tank Abbott pulled a knife on him.
That's at least worth it. Can you believe we almost saw that guy?
I know.
Slit a man's throat.
Oh, my goodness. Then we had Daphne versus Elizabeth.
Miss Elizabeth. Blood stuff. I think they were giving Daphne a push. I'll say Daphne.
No contest. Lasted all of 38 seconds.
Jesus Christ.
Next, we had a 4-on-2 handicapped St. Louis street fight. You had Kidman, Mike Awesome pulling double duty. Conan and Rey Mysterio taking on Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash.
What?
Yeah, that's what it says here, man.
When was this? What? It was May of 2000?
August 5th, 2000.
When was Bash at the Beach?
That's a good question. Apparently after this.
After this.
Yeah, it was after this.
Was it right after this?
It must have been shortly thereafter.
And who? It was Hogan and Nash versus who?
Hogan and Nash versus Kidman, Mike Awesome, Conan, and Rey Mysterio.
Okay, so some of the filthy animals, I think they were called?
Yeah, it's a street fight.
Doesn't work for me, brother. I'm going to say Hogan and Nash go over.
In 2 minutes and 27 seconds, somehow we got a no contest in a street fight.
Universe mode is broken, man. This shit is. Who was the booker at the time? Was this Russo?
2000, because he came in 99. I don't know if Russo was still, or if this was Russo and Bischoff. Oh, it had to be Russo and Bischoff at this point.
Was it?
This is right around Bash at the Beach.
It was. Yeah. Wow.
So your main event saw Jeff Jarrett defend the WCW title against Sting.
Well, this is the year 2000. There's a 50-50 chance this thing's going to change hands. I'm going to say it doesn't change hands. Jeff Jarrett keeps it.
Yeah, wins in about 5.5 minutes.
Wow.
Your main event, 5.5 minutes.
There's got to be some wonky shit there then for
You'd
Sting.
think so.
Sting ain't losing that
You
clean.
would think so.
Anyways, now that we're an hour and 5 minutes deep into the show, let's talk about Dynamite last night, Larson.
Sure.
Not going to be as bad as that episode of Nitro, I guarantee you.
No, I don't know. I think. Oh, let's talk about this real quick. Let's keep this brief. Minneapolis, they didn't get Mania 41, but they're getting a 2-night premium live event of their own because WWE announced today SummerSlam is coming to Twin Cities in 2026. Looking far into the future.
Twin Cities, apropos.
Yeah, 2 days. Twins.
Wow, 2-day SummerSlam.
August 1st and 2nd.
We are now officially in the era, I think, Larson, probably, of...
If they're doing a stadium show, it's going to be a 2-day event for the major pay-per-views.
The Big Four. The Big Four are going to be 2 days now. I would not be shocked at all. So, okay, so this is SummerSlam 20... You said 2026?
2026, I believe, yeah.
Has the 2025 SummerSlam been announced?
Nope.
Wow, okay. So I wonder if the Rumble 2020, like maybe 2026 is going to be the first year they're doing...
See, the 2-day Rumble I'd be about because in each Rumble gets the main event each day.
Yeah, that'd be right.
You get, a 4-match card each day.
You know what they would do, though? This is what they would do. The men's Rumble would main event night 1.
And then a title match would main event
the
night
Undisputed
2.
Championship would main event night 2. The women would get screwed out of their main event.
I know. That would be lame.
That's exactly what they're going to do, too.
You could do 2-night Money in the Bank, men's match main events one night, women's match main events.
Undisputed Championship main events.
Other night, but instead the Undisputed Championship main events both nights somehow.
That is cool though. Like especially if they do like both Money in the Bank nights 1, then you got some hella cash-ins happening on night 2. I kind of like that.
It's a possibility.
I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
There's a possibility that happens. Yeah, for sure.
Sure. By the time 2026 rolls around, yeah, it's going to be all Big Fours and maybe even Money in the Bank. You're right.
I'd be surprised if Survivor Series, because that's kind of at this point, Money in the Bank is kind of
men war games, women's war games,
leapfrogged Survivor Series in terms of at least importance from a creative standpoint for the most part. I understand war games is a spectacle that can draw, but I don't know. I kind of feel like Money in the Bank is now leapt over Survivor Series in terms of the power rankings of the major PLEs.
Oh yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. Yeah.
Anyways, let's talk Dynamite.
Dynamite. Yeah, so it's the last Dynamite before Double or Nothing coming up this weekend. Of course, we're going to be doing our live watch along of that, and also on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, depending on where you are. WWE King and or Queen of the Ring from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. We're going to be doing our live watch along for that as well. Our predictions for that are available right now over at the Friendo Club Wrestling channel, and our predictions for Double or Nothing are going to be going up probably later on today.
Yeah, we're going to shoot those after we're done with this at some point.
Yep.
And also the predictions form for Big Blue predictions should hopefully be going up shortly. I got to reach out to Cody and see if it's possible to add the 2 matches that were announced on Dynamite last night.
Awesome, possum.
Before we get that up, we can just jump right into it and just talk about things as they come up, since we're almost an hour, 10 minutes into the show. Opened up with a fun tag match between we got Will Ospreay, Orange Cassidy taking on Trent and Roderick Strong. This is a kind of old school WWE booking where you have 2 separate matches on a pay-per-view. So you take the faces, team them up, take the heels, team them up, and have a tag match.
Kingdom. And then there's the added, wrinkle of Don Callis family member Will Ospreay and Don Callis family recruit Orange Cassidy. So Don Callis trying to help team Don Callis get the win here.
Yeah.
And in fact, he was pretty successful. Why, wasn't he? Wait, was he successful?
He tripped up Roddy at one point, and that was
that's right. He tripped up Roddy.
At one point. So the finish here saw Trent. He's trying to pull off the top turnbuckle cover, but the ref stops him. So Roderick's looking for end of heartache on Orange Cassidy. Instead of Orange counters that with a stun dog And then Ospreay hits him up. This match was crazy. There's a lot of fun stuff happening. Ospreay then hits an Os cutter on Roddy. Taven and Bennett try to get in the ring. Ospreay sends them out, hits him with the tope, but then Wardlow comes down. Whoop-ha, lays him out from behind. So then back at the ring, Trent hits Orange with a running knee. Roddy follows with End of Heartache for the win. Then Wardlow throws Ospreay in the ring. Kingdom! Start beating up Ospreay while Trent is choking out Orange on the ramp. And then Will gets busted open after Roddy blasts him with the international title. And Roddy's there shoving the title in his face and then hits him with the End of Heartache. So if you had any doubt that Will Ospreay was going to be your next international champion, this should allay those fears.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely clear. I think, I'd seen some chatter online from many of the accounts that we had mentioned earlier, be it channels or Twitter accounts, that they're going to have Will Ospreay main event for the world title at Wembley. And I'm like, I think that they're just going to, I think what they're going to do is he'll probably main event with the international title.
That's possible.
But they're going to sort of try to make that international title kind of on par with the world title because it's Will Ospreay and everybody loves that guy and AEW really loves him. And so I could see him main eventing All In and then Swerve main events All Out.
Uh-huh.
This is probably going to be the thing, but I don't think their paths are going to cross because they're both baby faces.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, I'd be pretty surprised that if in 2024 Ospreay becomes AEW World Champion. I mean, it seems like their philosophy now is putting all their titles on main event caliber wrestlers.
Yep.
You got Cope with TNT. You got Okada with Continental, soon to be Ospreay with the International, obvious Swerve with the World title. Try to get all the titles kind of roughly on the same level, and I think, but by and large, that world title is still going to be the world title and will main event more often than not.
I think it'll main event in America. I think when they're out in the UK, I think that's going to be Ospreay's deal. So, anyways, yeah, no, it seems clear that Will Ospreay. It's interesting because like I mentioned this before. Adam Cole did the thing where he got out of the wheelchair, and now he's just nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to be the Wembley match for if that's what they're trying to pencil in. Cole versus Ospreay.
Could be
for Wembley. I could see that being the case.
That could be.
Anyways, after that we had the Young Bucks backstage. They had security with them. They're showing off flyers. They stole our gimmick from Action Coast, dude.
I know.
They had Darby Allin flyers banned. I tell you, from the building, banned. And then Nick says he looks like a criminal. Darby Allin, you prick. You attacked the Elite unprovoked last week, and guess what? You're barred this week. And then Matt adds, Nick hands out flyers to security. Matt says, in the interest of having the safest locker room in the business, sorry, Darby, you're not allowed in tonight. And then he talks to security. He says, get a good look. This guy is resilient as hell. He just broke his foot a second ago. He got Final Destination by a bus in New York City a couple weeks ago, and he's still standing and he's out for blood. Get a good look at him. Do not let him in the building. What are you standing here for? Go to your jobs. Hey, tuck your shirt in. And then Sanjay Dutt walks in. He's like, I want to commend you guys taking care of problems. Darby Allin's not going to be an issue. This past Saturday on Collision, you guys took care of 2/3 of your problem with FTR, thanks to the Righteous and Lance Archer. And tonight it all comes to a head. My Indian Giant, he's going to destroy the American Dragon. And Matt says, hey, if he beats him, cool. If he hurts him, great. And Dutt says, so long as the money's in the envelope, make sure you put some rupees in there because tonight Satnam is going to break Brian like a pencil. And then Dutt leaves. Starts laughing. Yeah.
Then we got a pretty long Bang Bang Gang promo. And pretty much it's just Jay White saying that Pac made 3 mistakes.
And one fan near a hot mic who said, who wrote this shit? Jay White, he's a good promo. He just goes so long.
He does. And he has just kind of this melodious, low-key way of talking. I know. So in short, he says Pac's made a trio of mistakes. 1, when you see Bang Bang Gang in the corridors, you run, you scatter, you turn the other way. 2, you got into our business when we were taking care of Rocky Romero a couple weeks ago. And 3, you questioned me and you questioned us. You asked us to make you care. So we just gave you exactly what you asked for. So Pac shows up on the Tron and says, that's what I'm talking about. You wound me up a little bit. And I wanted to be mad at you because, like you said, I did provoke you after all. But, gentlemen, that's 3-on-1. That's not exactly fair now, is it? So allow me to introduce you to my amigos and Death Triangle.
Phoenix looks jacked.
Yeah, he's super jacked now.
He was flexing. My goodness gracious.
So we get a brawl. Death Triangle clears out the ring, and Pac takes the mic and says, "You think you're hard, but the Sunday Double or Nothing AEW Unified Trios titles. You think you're hard? I guess we'll find out."
You think you're hard. What do you like about, or what do you make of this match here? Who do you think is going to win this one?
Bang Bang Gang just won those titles the last pay-per-view on the kickoff show. I don't see them losing quite yet.
Yeah, neither do I.
Death Triangle's already been Trios champions.
They have been. It's a big return, but until Tony Khan starts booking Pentagon the way Dark Dank Lucha wants him to, I'll believe it when I see it.
Exactly. Next, we had Hook versus Brian Keith versus Katsuyori Shibata, winner of this, or in this case, winners. Go on to face Chris Jericho.
This is so wrong, man. This is so fucking wrong. Poor Brian Keith. He shows up and he's like, okay, so wait a second. This is to motivate Hook getting in a match with Jericho.
I'm sure he showed up as like, all right, I know I'm taking the pin. Who's pinning me? And and then the idea was like, nobody's pinning you. Oh, yeah. Am I winning? Oh. No, they're both making you tap.
Oh, come on.
Because that's what happened. Shibata puts on a figure 4, and while Keith is selling that, Hook comes up, puts the red rum on him, and he has to tap.
Like, Hook couldn't have just booted Shibata off him and then went for the red rum himself? Dude had to get tapped out by 2 other dudes?
I know.
Man, wow.
It's pretty lame.
Jericho was on commentary the whole time. And it's like...
The issue with this is 2 1 note, Steve. It's 2 1 note.
It is 1 note with like a hint, more than a hint, of like resentment towards the fan base.
Yes. Like, how dare you not embrace me? Is seemingly the idea. Yes.
It's the subtext. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I love having my face on. You guys love my face, don't you?
Yeah.
And this week is the first time I really got that, like...
sense of entitlement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed like before he was just sort of playing with the concept of, I am a momentum vampire, I am a vortex. And this week it just felt a little... maybe I was just paying attention more. Felt a little bit more venomous.
I felt like it's always kind of been there. But it's 2 1 note. There's no... right. As of yet, there's no complexity to it, per se.
I like when wrestlers kind of go out of their way to explain why all of a sudden they're acting like a completely different person. Didn't really get that here. Mm-mm. But anyways, he gets on the mic. He says, oh, that was an interesting call, Rick Knox. 2 winners, double submission. Makes my job a little harder at Double or Nothing in Las Vegas. He says, I got to tell you guys, this Shibata Hook, I'm really proud of you guys for everything you picked up from the learning tree, being part of the Jericho Vortex, but I got to warn you, as longest running for the world champion in history at over 33 days, I'm just getting started. So even though I'll be seeing you in Las Vegas for the first time ever, 3-way for the World Rules Championship match, I'm going to walk out as the winner. He says, I'm not losing to anybody ever. So yeah, I don't know. It's not without its humor, but I don't know. Like you said, 1 note.
1 note. Then we have a Mercedes Monet Willow Nightingale video package. The video packages last night were all really well put together. They were well done.
They were, yeah. They're really, yeah. The production's really good on that stuff.
Even though Bully said it seemed like an infomercial for a pay-per-view. Does Bully Ray not know what go-home shows are? That's kind of what go-home shows are for pay-per-view. It's like, here's the pay-per-view. Maybe you should buy it.
Well, if he's, I don't know. I don't know the context with which Bully Ray said that.
Next up, we had a genuine commercial for the Young Bucks shoes, Reebok pumps.
I would actually watch an infomercial of this.
Heck yeah.
Because Okada's hilarious. Young Bucks are not without their sense of humor. We should reach out and see if we can get some of these comped.
That'd be great.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Otherwise, $180 from Champ Sports.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
I try not to spend that much on shoes.
But here's the thing. I could be bought off. Free pair, I'll probably talk pretty good about it. Not going to lie. Full transparency. You get a good review
if we get free Reebok pumps. Young Bucks edition.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I did a video on WrestleJuice yesterday, looking at that Bret Hart Championship title.
Yeah.
$750. I'm not gonna get that.
No.
Give it to me for free. Maybe I'll take that review down and put up a really good one.
Oh, number one Bret Hart fan then.
Number one Bret Hart Legacy title fan, anyways.
And we had, after that commercial, Takeshita Mox video package about their match. Again, really well put together. And then we had Takeshita in a squash match against Matt Sydal. I know I just said earlier they don't have a lot of squash matches in AEW. This was basically a squash match. I think Sydal got 5 moves off. In the end, he eats a huge German suplex.
Well,
It's the forearm. The forearm for the finish. Yeah, Blue Thunder Bomb forearm for the finish. And then he's like, here, I'll help you up, Sydal. And hits a massive German suplex after helping him up, stomps on him a little bit. Mox's music hits. So Callis sees Mox. He flees. Mox gets in the ring with the mic, goes up to Takeshita and just punches him with the mic and leans over and says, I'll see you at Double or Nothing. This go-home math, you'd think, Takeshi's got to win.
This
is an eliminator match for a IWGP World Heavyweight title shot. So if Takeshita wins this, he doesn't win the title. He just gets a shot at the title.
Oh, yeah.
But still, Takeshi's not winning this, unfortunately.
Oh, I could see that. I could see him winning this. And then they do the match at Forbidden Door. When's that's coming up? That's in June.
I kind of feel like a New Japan roster member will probably challenge for the IWGP title against Mox.
I kind of feel like this title is more of an AEW title now.
We'll see.
It wouldn't kind of shock me if Takeshita versus Mox were for an AEW guy versus an AEW guy. Because it is like Mox is now, he's a New Japan guy because he's a New Japan champion.
But he's primarily an AEW guy, like Takeshita. Yeah, they're having the Casino Gauntlet match or whatever on the Dynamite next week, or Forbidden Door Gauntlet match, I think they call it.
Oh, you think that's for a New Japan title shot?
It is. They said it was. They said it was an AEW title shot. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, okay.
So you probably have. Well, I guess it could be. Maybe there will be an AEW guy challenging Mox. I guess it's possible. Then we have the Young Bucks backstage. Nick's holding a flyer. He says, Darby, we know you're watching. We know you're here in Bakersfield. We signed the travel list, but guess what? You're banned from the arena.
Banned.
And Matt says, let's finish running the show. And so they take a step, look to the right, and the camera pans over, and Swerve is sitting there. And he says, what up, turds? He says, I'm sorry, will I sit in y'all's seat? And Matt's like, oh, you're the champion. Make yourself at home. It's great to see you, man. And Nick says, hey, by the way, have you seen this guy? Pointing at the flyer, referring to Darby. We're banning him from the building. Swerve takes the flyer, puts his gum on it, balls it up, and throws it away and says, matter of fact, no, I haven't. Hit my music. My match is up next. So Matt's like, someone hit his music. So I like that they're getting Swerve at least involved in the A story in AEW, which is the Elite.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that as well. It feels more like, hey, he's involved. He's on their radar. He should be. He's champion.
But I guess the question is, who is Swerve going to face from the Elite? It's not going to be Nick or Matt because they're a tag team. It's not going to be Okada because Okada ain't losing anytime soon. So it's got to be Jack Perry. Yeah.
Where would that happen, though?
I mean, could that be the Forbidden Door match?
You would think that Swerve would take on a New Japan guy.
No chance.
Evil. Swerve versus Evil.
Oh, don't even put that out there. That's who Mox is facing next, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's not even going to main event, apparently.
Well, I mean, Evil's in the match.
Best of Super Junior final is going to main event.
Well, I mean, got Evil in the match.
He's a former world champion.
Yeah, I don't know if that should have happened, though.
They should retcon that one.
Then we had Swerve taking on Nick Wayne. Fun match.
I like the finish to this, too.
Yeah.
Because there seemed to be some amount of sincerity there. Because Swerve understands. He sort of created this monster that is Nick Wayne now.
Yeah.
And he said, I really am sorry. And then hit him with the house call.
Yeah. Blasted him with it.
Oh, man. It was great. Yeah.
Blasted him with it. So then Luchasaurus gets in the ring and blasts Swerve from behind. So Christian and Mother Wayne come in the ring. Luchasaurus is choking Swerve out in the corner. And then Swerve hits him with a low blow. Dumps him to the floor. All while Christian's over there checking on Nick Wayne in the corner. So Christian turns around and realizes, uh-oh, Swerve's there. So he runs out of the ring. Swerve gives chase. They're running around the ring. And as Swerve passes by Luchasaurus, whoop-ah, house call. It was great.
Yeah, it was cool.
So Swerve follows Christian backstage as they run into the parking lot. Christian steals someone's SUV, starts to drive off, but another SUV pulls in front of him, driven by Prince Nana, blocking his path. So Swerve pulls Christian out of the car, throws him around a little bit. Christian climbs atop the SUV. Swerve joins him up there. They're brawling. Swerve hits Christian with a DDT up there, and then Swerve waves over Prince Nana. So Nana comes over with the chair, hands it to Swerve. Swerve takes a swing, trying to crush Christian's head between chair and hood of car, but Christian evades it and runs away.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool bit. I thought that was a really cool bit.
It was.
You can always rely on Swerve to do some cool stuff.
Yeah. I'm guessing you really like this next match, even though you may not like the blood falling from the ceiling. Malachi versus Kyle O'Reilly. This is like the closest thing I think that we will have gotten AEW of what feels like a real MMA-style fight happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise these guys were in the black and gold.
Yeah,
and that was sort of their deal. No, I liked it. I thought it was awesome. These guys are great. I mean, my main thing is like it was just like it's just another foregone conclusion match. It's like you sort of know what's. I didn't expect blood to shoot out of Malachi's butt, but like no, I don't know. It was awesome. It was awesome. It was just at this. I think the placement also like at this point it was like man, we've already had like a lot of these matches that were sort of foregone conclusion matches.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, but if this was like a pay-per-view thing, like I would probably have been a bit more into it, but it was cool. I liked it.
And then the blood came down. So Malachi, the finish was cool because they're just kicking and hitting the shit out of each other this whole match. They're beating the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
And so there's a back and forth with a bunch of strikes. So Malachi fakes with a kick low. Kyle reacts to block it. And then Malachi hits a black mass to get the win. And so Kyle rolls out of the ring, and a bunch of red lights start pulsing. Like the arena lights go down, and you get these red lights pulsing. And you get this drone, not a brown note drone, evidently. And then the lights around the ring come back up. And then there's like, I don't know how to describe it. There was so much pressure behind these two blood flows from the ceiling. It looked painful. Because it was coming down with some serious velocity.
So Malachi slips, and you see for a second, like his head sort of goes up, and it hits him right in the face. And I was like, oh my God, there's no way that didn't end up in his sinuses.
Yeah.
It was very forceful.
It was very forceful.
And chunky, too.
And a lot of it. There was a lot.
It was a ton.
It was splashing all over the place. So the whole mat was just covered in fake blood.
Yeah.
So obviously, Brood Cope is coming.
You think Gangrel's going to come too?
I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised at all.
Hasn't he been into? Has he? Was he in AEW for a sec? Like did he do like a cameo? I feel like he did.
So, anyways, Cope shows up on the Tron and says, "Hey, Malachi, up here. Be careful what you wish for. See you soon."
I did not wish for all this cranberry sauce to be in my sinuses.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot.
It was coagulating. It was chunky.
It was chunky, and it was in his sinuses. After that, we had a video package for Anarchy in the Arena. And then we had Tony Storm and Mariah May versus Saraya and Harley Cameron.
Yeah. So Tony and Mariah get the pretty definitive win here. They hit each of their opponents with their finishers, and then Harley Cameron took an extra Storm Zero. She's the one that got pinned by Tony. And then on Collision, they had this bit where Tony stands behind the Deeb Dojo banner and gets undressed and then kind of wraps herself in the banner. So she's in the ring.
I saw that. Yeah, I did. I watched Collision.
She's in the ring, kind of teasing, doing that again. Deeb comes to the ring and blasts Luther with the chair. She lays out Mariah May and then hammers Tony with her shoe and then picks up the chair she used when she got in and set it up on Tony's back, sat on it, and then put her in a half crab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This match will be really good.
Match will be really good, but, the crowd, they're not really into Serena Deeb all that much. I feel like it's a bad spot for her to be in because Tony's really popular.
I know.
But the match will be really good. After that, we had a Bang Bang Gang promo. Jay says, I think I know what they want. They want our gold. And Colton says, we're the greatest tag team in the world, so if you want a shot at these, you got to earn it. So what I'm thinking is a gunfight at the Collision Corral. And Austin says, it won't be hard to find. Look for the saloon doors, and it'll say guns up.
So I guess it's just a tag match? We getting the Guns versus Lucha Brothers? It was kind of unclear what the match is actually going to be.
It's a gunfight.
An actual gunfight.
That seems dangerous.
I don't think they would do that.
Is cash involved?
It's not advertised, Steve.
Then we had on Bryan Danielson's birthday, his birthday present, match with Satnam Singh. That's the main event.
It was. Short bout. Interference from Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt. Didn't matter. Danielson gets the win by
You know
DQ.
my favorite GIF is? I got to find it for the streams. It's Jeff Jarrett in the ring doing the Fargo strut, and then the camera cuts down to ringside, and his whole crew is doing the Fargo strut at the same time.
It's pretty great. So Danielson has Satnam Singh in the label lock, and Lethal and Jarrett come in and stomp on Danielson to break it up. Danielson wins it by DQ, and then it's chaos after that. Jarrett picks up his guitar while Lethal holds up Bryan. Jarrett takes a swing. Danielson moves, so Jarrett almost hits Lethal, puts on the brakes. But then Bryan takes them both out with knee pluses. He picks up the guitar, takes a swing at Sanjay Dutt. He moves, and then Satnam Singh just puts his fist out. And that guitar just absolutely disintegrates. And then everybody lays into Bryan Danielson. Young Bucks make their way to the ring. They hand an envelope full of cash to Sanjay. So they all take their leave. Jarrett, Sanjay, Singh, and Jay Lethal. So the Young Bucks set up for an EVP trigger on Danielson. He evades that, so the Young Bucks ram their knees together. He starts hammering them with strikes. Okada comes to the ring, or his music hits. Jack Perry lays out Danielson from behind. I hope you can't hear my tummy grumbling. I'm very hungry. So Okada gets in the ring, drops.
I don't know if it was that, or I thought my dog just snored.
Oh, my tummy just
as
really
soon as
loudly
she
grumbled.
did that. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
that was
loud.
loud. Wow.
So Okada hits Danielson with the Rainmaker. The Elite bring Danielson up the ramp and set him up to throw him off the ramp on through a table. But on the Tron, Darby gets out of an SUV that's being driven by Tony Khan. He's carrying a damn flamethrower.
Yeah, it was like a DIY type flamethrower.
Something.
It looked like it was taped together.
So he makes his way to the stage, and he's shooting fire all over the place.
It's pretty cool.
So most of the Elite run and hide basically behind commentary, but Nick goes and takes a swing at Danielson with a chair. Danielson ducks it, throws him off the stage through the table, and the show ends with Nick writhing in pain, calling Danielson a prick for throwing him through the table. You got Darby just wantonly flame throwing everywhere, and Danielson standing there like, are we off air yet? I got to sell.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how the flamethrower is going to
Well, I saw speculation online that Darby's going to be lit on fire during this match.
Yeah, I can see that. That might be the early moment to get him out of it. Somebody grabs it from him, like a.
Well, I don't think the flamethrower is going to be the thing that sets him ablaze.
Now it's gonna be like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I haven't seen that movie yet.
Oh, he really shit is great. Better than the Iron Claw. Speaking of which,
A review
you
up
want to
soon.
hear our thoughts about the Iron Claw? We do our review of it. It's going to be dropping, I don't know, probably Friday. What is today? Thursday? Tomorrow. For the new Friendo cast. That's right. We paywalled our Iron Claw review. Not only is it really, really late, but it's also paywalled. But we do a deep dive into it, given our film history. I'm sorry, our history with film studies and film production. Obviously, our review of the Iron Claw is superior.
It's the only one that matters.
If you really, really love the movie, probably skip this review.
Yes.
Because you'll be probably hurt.
Maybe disappointed. Although I don't think any criticism we made about that movie were unfair. No industry of negativity with us in the Iron Claw, Steve.
I kind of feel like it's definitely industry of negativity. Yeah, we pretty much savaged that movie. Anyways, you want to answer some questions?
Sure, let's do it. Timor here says, should King and Queen of the Ring be a yearly thing and be for SummerSlam what the Rumble is for Mania? In other words, winning King and Queen of the Ring gets you a title shot at SummerSlam.
No, I feel like that just limits. I feel like that limits stuff. You know, like once a year, who's going to win the Rumble and get the Mania shot? That's the thing. I don't think you need to do it with King and Queen of the Ring. I think a title shot is good. Yes. It doesn't need to be the SummerSlam.
There needs to be something that's beneficial to one's career, kayfabe, as a reward for winning King and Queen of the Ring. Sorry, King and Queen of the Ring, and not just a crown. Unless the crown's going to be defended, like it was initially.
Oh yeah, there you go. That'd be cool. Let's see here. Okay, John and Alistair Boyd, this is the second day in a row that he mentioned this, so I'm just going to bring it up. He says, to make Brian Cage interesting, since he's known as a Wolverine, have him in an Old Man Logan arc. Which storylines from comic books would you like to see in the wrestling world, and with whom? Is Brian Cage supposed to be old soon, or old all of a sudden?
Yeah, that's a good question. He's what, in his 30s?
John and Alistair Boyd knows that. Yeah, something like that.
Maybe in 10 years.
So what's a comic book storyline?
I mean, I guess you could have Brian Cage be the Bane to someone's Batman.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Breaks, like, swerves back or something like that. I'm going to go with the Death of Superman, where this new Doomsday character played by Brian Cage.
Gotcha.
And a Superman character. Who's like the Superman of AEW?
It would have been Cody.
Bryan Danielson.
Oh, my God. My tummy's grumbling.
They punch each other so hard that they kill each other.
All right.
In kayfabe.
Yeah. Well, obviously not for realsies, yes.
And then you have the Return to Superman storyline where 3 non-Supermen show up claiming to be the new Supermen. And they show up. But then Danielson, this time with a mullet.
Happy you mentioned the mullet.
Shows up and he's like, they bring him back to life.
There we go. Luis here asked, does TNT losing the NBA give AEW a better chance with ratings now that it's possible for them to get better time slots? Dynamite has a good time slot. Yep. Prime time on Wednesday nights.
It's good.
It's a good time spot. That ain't changing.
Nope.
I guess the question is Collision and or Rampage, are they going to get a better time spot?
Or are they going to be canceled? I'm just trying to do something. Says triple threat situation. Would you rather be pinned by the other 2 guys, tap out to both of them, or be at the bottom of a stacking? I'd rather be pinned by 2 dudes.
Yeah, tapping out to 2 submission moves, that's kind of humiliating.
It really is. Yeah. You know what they should do in that situation? The ref asks, who are you tapping out to?
That's a good point.
What was the pain that you experienced that caused the tap out?
Because here's the thing, Brian Keith, he was withstanding the figure 4. It wasn't until the red rum was applied that he said, I've had enough, so Hook should win.
Hook should have won.
That should be Hook's win.
I agree.
Sorry, Shibata.
Juan Villa says, who used a flamethrower better, Darby or The Rock?
I mean, The Rock lit his name on fire. He actually used it for its purpose.
That's better. That is better. Yeah.
That segment was awful.
Like if I was like, and it said Steve, that'd be awesome.
At least you'd be using the flamethrower rather than just shooting fire into the air.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Nikyle here says, if not the Brood theme or Metalingus, what song would be the ideal to play for Copeland's theme at Double or Nothing for a Brood entrance? Brood-themed entrance. I would guess Brood theme is Jim Johnston composition.
Yeah, WWE owns that.
Can't use that.
Yeah.
Metalingus wouldn't exactly fit Brood Edge, maybe. Unless they do the thing where it's like ominous and he comes out and he's with Gangrel and Gangrel's got the goblet and, doing his thing. And they have it and it's ominous. And then they do a transition and then you get Metalingus.
Yeah. I would do this. I would do Lady in Red.
Oh.
Is dancing with Cope. Cheek to cheek. Because it's red. And then Malachi's like, wait, who's the lady? He's calling me a lady. It's not nice. I'm humiliated. What's another song that has to do with blood or red?
Gosh, I feel like there's a lot.
99 Red Balloons. But they do it in the what was it, German or whatever?
German, the original German. Yeah.
Luft balloons.
Yeah.
Let's see here. AJ Otani, what's your favorite and least favorite celebrity appearance in wrestling? My favorite was on what's his name? Burt Reynolds was at WrestleMania because he just looked like he didn't really want to be there.
It was when Wale hosted the first rap battle between
That's good. That's
New
a good
Day
one,
and the Usos.
That's a good one. My spirit animal is the Dorito asks, is carrot cake a vegetable?
No.
No, if there is any actual carrot in it, then that's the vegetable element of it.
The ingredient is a vegetable, but
In
that
total,
itself
the
is
cake
not a
is
vegetable.
cake.
No. It's like asking, well, it's not just like, but like, is a bowl of cereal milk?
Yeah, right.
No,
It's an element.
it's an element.
Joe the Meme Maker, who in AEW has a better signature that they should use as their finisher instead of their actual finisher?
Oh, I feel like there's an obvious answer to this one.
Lady in red was dancing with me.
I kind of wish that Miro would win with the Machka kick
Yeah, me too. Where is Miro?
or hurt. Shoulder injury, apparently.
Oh, is he really? My goodness.
Kelmiko here asks, what's an all-time underrated theme song?
Dan Severance.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Nobody ever talks about Dan Severance. It was awesome. Bing, bing, hey, hey.
It's a good theme.
Zorro says, do you think Triple H is happy for Billy Gunn? I don't know, man.
I don't know. Who knows if they even keep in touch? Who knows?
I don't know how he feels about Billy Gunn. I hope he's happy for him.
This is an interesting question. Chris Stanton, what did you enjoy more, Continental Classic or the King and Queen of the Ring tournament?
Oh, man, give me WWE.
Oh, Edro and Steve over there.
I don't know.
I'm going to say this. I enjoyed the Continental Classic more for this reason, because it seemed to provide some semblance of focus and vision for the company moving forward.
I liked the math aspect of it.
Yeah, because we like math.
Yeah, I like when people are for. I like seeing people complain about having. I got to do math. Come on, it's cool. It's like, oh man, if I win, then I get to do this, but it doesn't matter because this guy's winning over here, so I want him to lose. I like that aspect of it. Yeah, I like that round robin shit, man. I think it's cool.
Okay, so this is breaking.
Breaking.
As of an hour ago, Triple H has announced that the winners of Saturday's King and Queen of the Ring tournament's finals will each secure a championship opportunity at this year's SummerSlam.
Wow. Holy shit. Really?
Yep.
Wowie wow. The game, Triple H. Breaking. Oh, you know what? Breaking exclusive. He's here with us too. All right, here we go. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right.
So breaking news, winners of the King and Queen of the Ring tournament get title shots at SummerSlam, yeah?
You got that right. 2-night event 2026. That's where they get their title shot.
Oh, in 2 years?
We announced Minneapolis. That's where they get to 2024 King and Queen of the Ring. They get SummerSlam 2026 title shots. That's right. And then the 2026 winner gets it in 2028.
Why is there a 2-year wait?
There's a 2-year wait because, you know what? I'm a long gamer. Everything is just drawn out super slowly. You gotta have patience when dealing with the long game.
That's really long, though.
But it's gonna be the biggest. It's gonna be the biggest ever. Everything's biggest ever. Biggest money, most ratings ever. Biggest. You know, our ratings are better now than they were in 1998. That's a fact.
I don't think that's true.
Television has changed not a bit, and our ratings are better now than ever. And if you don't think so, I find it funny. You're a pissant. You're a pissant journalist. That's what maybe a little more credibility from you.
I never really called myself a journalist, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea because you're not a journalist.
No, I know I'm not.
A little bit more credibility from going in Raw.
No, we've never said we had any credibility, Triple H.
Yeah, no, and now you have even less.
In fact, we make fun of our lack of credibility.
Yeah, you got no honesty.
Well, we try to be. What the heck was that?
He's gone. Man, he just came in to run us down?
Yeah, he's burying going in Raw.
No, no, we got buried. Man, if you're going to get buried by the best. That's what I say. Let's see
goodness.
here.
Well, you did to deserve that.
Um,
Alex Foster, if you guys feuded with Final Testament, what changes would be made to yourselves after you won the feud? Steve would have the beard.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, what? My genetics are kicking in now at the age of 45.
All my follicles just fall out of my face.
Maybe I'd finally lose some weight. Like, man, these last 15 pounds are pretty pesky here, Karrion Kross. Can you help me lose them? And he's like, oh, TikTok. And then I just become like even fatter than I am. Gosh darn it.
Darn it.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I got over here.
Yep. Andre Zimpel here has a Smash Zone question. By the way, we got the Smash Zone archive.
Yeah, the SmackDown Archive channel. Is there today's Thursday? There should be
there's a new one up today. It was the Press Your
nice.
Luck one, I believe. It's the Press Your Luck one.
Awesome.
Andre asked,
Very
have
cool.
we ever watched the episode where the contestant who knew the board pattern and won a bunch of money? People would recommend that to us, but we didn't do it because of the Channel Point betting thing. I thought might be a little obvious about as far as potential outcomes, and people might be really aware of that show and the Whammy situation and whatnot. So no, we never did.
Kind of regret that. I think it would have been interesting given how much we were into that show.
I know.
But I guess if things had turned out different. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it. Till next time. We'll see you around.
Goodbye.